Okay, so welcome to a new guide on this channel, and on this one we need to talk about something really cool. So we need to talk about how we can control VST instruments, how we can use the routings to control them, maybe grab one instance of a scalar, just to give you an example, and use it for different instruments or different plugins, and how we can create a stack. That's the topic of this guide. Now, of course, if you like this, remember to like and subscribe. And if you have the money and you want to buy me a coffee, you can. Just go the links in the description. Okay, so let's just begin. Now, first, before we can move on to the more kind of let's say complex things, are not complex, but it's very specific things. I need to make sure you understand how instruments or how channels with instruments work, especially when you use a MIDI controller. So first of all, I will start with an impact. And I know that we all have this impact. It's the drum machine from Studio One. So I have this impact. I'm going to load whatever kit. Maybe I'm going to be loading that one. It doesn't matter. So we have this one. And for now, I'm just going to close this. So I know that this instrument is going to play, and I have an Atom SQ. When I play something and I play the different pads, it's going to be playing. So how do I know that this is going to play? So right here you have an icon, and this is the monitor. So if this is enabled, it's kind of on, is going to listen to whatever MIDI instruments you have connected, whatever MIDI controller. If I disable this and I play my Atom SQ, it's telling me that it's receiving some kind of information in this case, but nothing is going to play. And I know that this is a little bit obvious, but maybe you're starting, and I need to make sure that you understand this. If you already know how this works, you just can move on to the next one. So I know that this is, well, if I open this, it doesn't matter. I'm still going to be playing my pads, and I know I'm receiving information. Now, if you're not getting anything, you might want to check right here all the different, the different commands that you're getting from MIDI, and you can reconnect your devices if something is working, if it's not working. But it's maybe not the case. Now, I'm using two different instruments. I'm using the Atom SQ, and I'm using a keylab from Arturia. So if I play the Atom SQ, I'm going to be getting some information. If we want to listen, you need to have this enable. That's going to work. And if I go to my other MIDI controller, which is my Arturia, is going to work. So what happens if I bring a new instance of, I don't know, something else? Let's say DCO 103 is an emulation from, from a synth, from a Juno. Now we have two instruments. Now, if I click on this one, it's going to, by default, select the monitor and enable it, right? And if I select the other one, it's going to go to the monitor and enable. So if I select the track, it's going to be playing whatever instrument I have on that track. And if I click on that one, it's going to be playing that one. So maybe this is not your case. Maybe this is not working for you. Maybe when you click a track, it's not enabling the monitor. And this is because there is an option on Studio One configuration that have you, or just, it will make the enabling or the toggling on for you when you select the track. So I'm going to go to options. I'm going to open the options. You need to go to the advanced tab right here, and then you need to go to the console. You have a lot of options, but one of these options is going to be instrument input follow selection. So if I disable this and then apply it and then go OK, now this is just not going to happen. I'm going to select this instrument and it's just not doing it for me. Right? It's just not doing it for me. I need to manually go and enable and disable whatever other instrument was selected in order to play it. And if I want to play this one and I select it, not going to happen. Need to click out, click in, and then I have my Juno. Now you can still play both at the same time with your same MIDI controller. So if I play something, it's going to be playing the notes and the kit at the same time. We're going to talk a little bit more about this in a second. Now, still, with the other mode, which is the one I prefer, the instrument input follow selection, whatever, I'm going to apply, I'm going to OK. I much prefer to do this because as soon as I just enable it, it's just ready to go. Now, still, you can go to this one and enable it manually, and you're going to have both instruments playing with your same MIDI controller. Now, this kind of takes us to the next question. Who is deciding which MIDI controllers controls what? So you can have multiple controllers. In my case right now, I have a lot, but in this case, I have an Atom SQ and I have an Arturia MK2. Okay, so I want to decide who is going to control what. So how do you know this? Well, if you go right here at the bottom and you make it a little bit bigger, it's going to say from where is going to be listening input. So in this case, it's going to be all inputs. So this means, and for now, I'm just going to maybe go to the impact right here. So this means that this is listening to all the devices I have connected, the Atom SQ and the Arturia MK2 as well. So if I play it on the Atom SQ, it's going to go. And if I go to my keyboard, to the Arturia one, it's going to still work because all inputs will trigger this instrument. Now, what you can do, instead of having this configuration, you can go right there and decide which one is going to control this one. So, for example, maybe let's say that the drums, I'm going to be controlling it with the Atom SQ. But I don't want to do it with the DCO. I want to play my keys. So this one is going to be the Keylab Mark II. So now if I go to the impact and I play it, it's not going to play the DCO. And if I go to the other one, the Arturia, is going to be playing my keyboard. And this is especially, this is important because maybe you want both enabled and you want to play your, in this case, Atom SQ, and on the other side, I'm going to be playing my keys, right? So yeah, you can decide which one is going to control what. Now, there's one more thing that you need to know. When you add instruments or MIDI instruments, you can set them as default. This is more, like setting up MIDI instruments or MIDI controllers. This is not very related to, what we are talking about right now, but I'm just going to show you. So when you set up a controller, like the Keylab, for example, in this case, the Mark II, you have an option, not that one, this one. You have an option right there that says default instrument input. So whenever you create an instrument, by default, is going to select whatever is the default one. For now, I'm just not going to do it, but if I have that enabled for the Arturia one, I drag an instance of impact, and by default, it's going to do this. It's going to be selecting the key step, not that one, this one, the Keylab. Right? So if that is what you want, all the inputs just listening by default to one controller, you need to set your, you go to your configuration and make the one you want by default, right? So you can do that. But what you can do, in my case, I much prefer to have this listening to all inputs because I only listen or audition this instrument whenever it's, whenever I select the track, if I'm playing live, of course, with my MIDI controller. That's my preference. It's that there's no right or wrong right here. It's just completely up to you. Now, I want to talk about a different thing, which is routing instruments to many different instruments. So I want to select this, and I'm going to be removing everything and starting from the scratch. So what I want to do, again, I want a plugin to output some or outsource some kind of a MIDI information, and then I want some other instruments to listen to that MIDI instrument. Okay, so let me just give you an example. And Scalar is kind of the best example for this. So Scalar, what it will do, if you don't know Scalar, it's a plugin. It gives you scales, and you just can create chord progressions, and then you just can play them. Pretty simple. In this case, I'm just going to be going to something that it's kind of already, right there. So if I play some notes, it's just going to be outputting chords. Now, behind the scenes, when I do this, this is kind of outsourcing MIDI information. So what if I wanted to use this instrument, this, all the chords that I have right here, and I want to play them on a different synth or a different instrument? All right, so let's do the same trick than before. I want to try to bring a new instrument. This is going to be my DCO 106, right? And let me just, make this a little bit bigger. So now my DCO6, it's just independent. If I play my scalar, it's just going to be playing the scalar. And if I play this, nothing is going to happen. Right now, I'm playing my, of course, my MIDI controller. Now, if I open this and play it, it doesn't matter. I have this one selected. Still, play the piano from the scalar. I don't want this. What I want is for this to output the information, the MIDI information, to the DCO 106. Now, this is fairly simple. What I need to do, we need to go to all inputs. That is that everything is kind of related to the previous section. So right here, when you open it, it will tell you, okay, so now we have all these controllers, but now we have a scaler too. And it knows that scaler will spit out MIDI information or MIDI notes in this case. So I'm going to go and select a scaler. So now DCO, it's not listening to my path, to my MIDI controller anymore. If I play something on my MIDI controller, nothing happens. I need to go to scaler, and that's why I have this pinned, because it's not going to go away if I deselect the channel. And if I play this, we are still listening to the piano. Now remember how this works. This one needs to be enabled, the monitor. It's receiving MIDI information from the other one. So if I enable, now we get it. So we are playing scaler, and it will go out to the DCO, or actually the DCO, it's listening to scaler. Now we're still listening to the piano of the sound of the scaler. So you have two choices in this case. In the case of scaler, just go down in volume. That's it. That's the first solution. And if not, the scaler, what you can do, you can set the instrument to off. So now the only thing that this does is spit information, MIDI information, and not audio. So now, since the DCO is listening to the scaler, I'm going to position right here. We are auditioning. If I play something, it goes out. So this means that if I want to record something, it's going to be recording whatever I do right here. So that's going to work. And if I play it, I'm going to go there. It's just going to work. And now, of course, this information is the one triggering the DCO 106, not the scaler. Now, what if I wanted to add a MIDI track to scaler and I want to listen that on the other channels? Well, it's the same deal. I can drag chords just like this, just to make something, very small, dumb. I can go and do something like this, and whatever we play right here is going to go to the DCO. Remember, we need to audition this one in order to get it to work. So this can give you a lot of things, but because in this case, I can go right here and record whatever I'm doing. Let me just adjust all of this. Right, so now I have something small. So the fact that you have MIDI right here, it doesn't mean that you cannot go right here and punch in. So if I record, it's going to still record whatever he's getting. So now if I kind of disable this or unlink it from scaler, I'm going to say none, my DCO will just, work in this case. Of course, I'm going to need to go back and just play it. So you just can use it to create whatever the DF you want, then punch in and then just unlink it so you can use it manually, or you can do, again, whatever you want. So let me just remove it. And for now, just let's say I want to use a scaler. I'm going to go back, and now what I want to do, I want to bring a different instrument. And I'm going to bring, I don't know, a MIDI B3, the one from Arturia. All right, so I have the one from Arturia right here. Let me just select something. Okay, I like that one. So now we need to do the same trick. What if I wanted to, and if I delete this, or maybe I'm going to leave it. What if I wanted to listen to scaler? So both instruments, the MIDI B3 and the DCO, are listening to scaler. So if I go to scaler and open it and play it, if they are enabled and I disable this one and I play it, can you listen? The sound comes from the DCO, out from the DCO and the MIDI B3 at the same time, and we can see that they are receiving MIDI information. Right? So we can do the same trick. I can go right here, maybe disable the scaler. I'm going to say none. So what if I wanted to record with the same chords something else? Since this is listening to scaler, we can. I'm going to go to perform and just do an arpeggio. And whenever we do an arpeggio, it's going to be something like, it's just going to do the arpeggio, of course. Now, we are still doing the chord, but this is outputting an arpeggiated version of the chord. And MIDI B3 and the other ones are listening to this. So I can just record. And there we go. It's going to record our arpeggio in that fashion. And if I listen to both, you can easily create different parts with one MIDI. With Scalar in this case, you could use whatever other plugin. Scalar, I believe it's kind of the best for this, but you have all the other options. And you can create different parts with the same chords, just doing different things and listening to the same instance of one single plugin. Now, we have a completely different thing, which is stacks. I'm going to remove this, kaboom, not there anymore. And I want to create a stack of different synthesizers or different instruments. Okay, so I will go to my DCO 103, and this is my Juno one. I'm going to toss it. And there you go. We have it right here. If I play it, it's going to work. We know that it's going to work. Now, what if I wanted to do a combination of two instruments? So this would require for me to bring a new instrument to a new channel, then write the MIDI information, or even link this to a different channel where it's going to spit out that MIDI information. And then we need to do what we just did, which is kind of a linking to that channel. It sucks, but you can do something else. I'm going to remove the MIDI B3 and I'm going to go back here. So if I drag and drop to where we have the DCO, we have two choices, actually three. We can cancel, of course, but we can replace the DCO with the MIDI B3, or we can combine. So this is a stack. As soon as I combine, this is going to be changing a little bit, and it's going to say this is a multi-instrument. So now this channel, if I play something, that information is going to be outputted and played on this plugin, and then this plugin as well. So if I play it on the B3, we have a bass, so it sounds like a bass. But the DCO it's playing at the same time. Let's say I want to bring something else. I don't know, just to do a different developer. Let's maybe bring one we all know. I'm going to bring Serum, and I'm going to combine. So now instead of having a stack of 2, we have a stack of 3. Now Serum is going to be a little bit noisy, maybe a little bit loud. So I'm going to break it down. So now if I play it, we get the MIDI, the DCO, and the Serum listening to the same input. In my case, I'm playing this on the Atom Q, and we are playing the same part on 3 different instruments. So still, you have a call right here. You can decide what you want to do with these instruments because they are separate. They are different instruments. So behind the scenes, Studio One is kind of creating 3 different channels, one for each instrument, and then it's going to route all to one bus. So this is what happens behind the scenes. So this doesn't mean that you have no control over the plugin or what it's gonna happen on the channel where the plugin lives. So we know this by double clicking, we are going to be accessing. But right here, when I select this one, we have inserts, we have a fader, we can solo, we can pan this. Maybe I'm going to be doing this, and I'm going to go down in volume on this one. So now if I play something, that's going to work. So all of them live on their own independent channel. Okay, so if I close this, how can I go back to that? Well, this is actually the instrument view because now it's a multi-instrument. So this is the view for the multi-instrument. But if you close this and you go to the mix section, you can see that this is a multi-instrument and it's going to main, which is the main. But how can you see the different channels? Because maybe you want to do some mixing and you want to get access to the different channels. Right here, you have some options. This is going to be this one, of course. But then right here, if you click on that one, it's going to show you the channels that you have and the plugins that you're loading. Now, there's one funny looking thing that it says that it's going to MIDI B3. Well, it's the name of the channel. It's not changing. It changed it to MIDI B3 when we tossed that instrument into this channel. So I'm going to be calling it Stack. Whenever I do so, now this again works like, a bus, sending to a bus. These 3 different instruments, these tracks, are going to the stack. That's why when we play something, everything we do right here is going to the stack. So now you can, again, just modify this, drag different plugins, and you can just make a blend, mix all of this, and have a stack. That's why it's called Stack. And on top of that, remember that you have this view and you can add more instruments if you wanted to. You can add note effects if you wanted to. And you have the ability of using the splitter. So you can still, you have all the goodies, but now you have a stack, right? You can still use all those cool things. So that's it for this guide. We've just learned a little bit of how we can set up a MIDI instrument, how to control it with a controller, how to route to different instruments, like from scalar to different VSTs, or to create a stack. Pretty simple stuff for us right now. All right, so if you like this and you learned something on this one, remember to like and subscribe. And if you have the money and you want to buy me a coffee, you can. You can go to the links at the description, and you have a Patreon, you have PayPal, and you have Google Thanks. All right, so see you on the next one.